What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Redefining Issued Equipment. And in this episode, as well as the next couple of episodes, we're going to be going over the Gen 3 IOTV and the setup and configuration of this entire system, so that way it is a streamlined and functional system that's going to enable you rather than inhibit you out in training and on the battlefield. Now, when it comes down to it, with this system, I would highly recommend utilize the time that you have in training to help validate your kit, and that way you can set this up and streamline this, so that way it's enabling you and setting yourself up for success in the long run, because the last thing that you want to have happen is your kit inhibit you when you're out in combat and you're in a gunfight. So with that, this video is going to focus entirely on the setup and configuration of this system and how to streamline it as much as possible and get rid of the components that you don't need, and then how to modify the Cummerbund so that way it's a more reactive system and kind of acts similar to a Cry Precision Cummerbund on like the JPC or the AVS and some of their other systems that they have. And then in the following videos, they're going to be more of setup videos on how to set up the back, how to set up the front, and my recommendations when it comes to those configurations, whether you're required to wear the taps with this or if you can go out and purchase your own pouches and all of that. We'll talk all of those so that way you have a better idea of how to set this up, so that way it's nice and streamlined and isn't going to be as heavy and cumbersome and preventing you from being able to shoot, move, and communicate. So with that, I'm going to dive right into the components and everything that you see on the table, so that way we can get that knocked out and then go into the mod, and then I'll cut it after that, and then that way you can move on to the next video, or if you want to just jump over to the other videos for the setups and how to configure everything, by all means go ahead and do that. When it really comes down to it, you're just cutting all the components that are on the table off and getting rid of them if you just want the quick and easy answer. So, and then if you want, just skip to the end of the video to where I go over the mod of the Cummerbund, so that way you can see that as well. So with that said, I'm going to dive into this. So when it comes to the DAP system, or the shoulder body armor or soft body that comes with this system, the biggest complaint that I see a lot of guys talk about with this is it inhibits guys from being able to shoulder that rifle, and it prevents guys from really being able to accurately send rounds downrange, especially when they're transitioning in between different shooting positions. I hear the biggest complaints in the prone position, because it's just pushing that stock away from their body, and then a couple times when it comes to standing, guys have complained about how these have inhibited them from being able to get behind that gun as much as they would like to, compared to when they're using like their own civilian equipment or equipment that they've purchased off the civilian market. So my recommendation, get rid of these things, because they're just going to inhibit you from being able to shoot when it comes down to it. Now, next we have the back protector and the groin protector. So when it comes to these two pieces, the biggest thing that I hear and have experienced, and I've experienced all of these because I used to use one of these systems back when there was the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. But when it comes to the back protector and the groin protector, these guys are constantly flapping around. I know guys that had back problems, this would hit them in the lower back, and it would cause a lot of pain and issues and restrict mobility, because they would be sore after every mission. So I would get rid of that, because it's just going to really just cause a lot of problems from what I've seen. So, and then it's just extra dead weight in my opinion, because you have all of this soft body already integrated into the system. So why you need lower back body armor when you already have body armor? To me, it doesn't make sense, especially with a lot of the systems that are out there. I would rather be fast and mobile on the ground, so that way I can close with and destroy the enemy, rather than being slow and an easy target. So, and that's kind of what, in my opinion, this entire system does anyways. It makes you slow. So with that, the groin protector, the biggest thing is this thing just sits in front of you and does this the entire time that you're moving around. I've seen it also inhibit guys from getting into certain shooting positions swiftly and getting out of certain shooting positions swiftly. So it's one of those things that I see a lot of inhibiting movement, not only on an individual level but on a unit level, because guys are slowly moving, or they're not moving as fast as they possibly could from like cover to cover, because their kit is getting in the way of them being able to move. Or if one guy's in the prone and trying to set up his machine gun, and then his groin protector flips out from under him and gets in the way, he has to adjust his groin protector then to be able to get behind his gun. So I've seen it happen. It was a really long time ago. It was almost 10 years ago, but that's besides the point. Anyways, so the next you have is the neck protector. The biggest thing that I hear guys complain about this and actually it was a couple of Air Force guys too, or personnel in the Air Force, was this caused a lot of issues with people being able to breathe. Why you would wear something that would inhibit you from being able to breathe, especially when you're really getting into a gunfight and you're moving and you're breathing really heavy and you're trying to control your breathing so that way you're situationally aware and all of that, but then this is restricting your ability to breathe, just doesn't make sense to me. So I would get rid of that as well. It's not something that you want because it has a potential to completely pull your situational awareness out of what's going on at that moment because you're trying to catch air and you're sucking wind and all that, if you want to talk football terms. So with that, I'll do a quick once over this entire system so that way you can see what is actually going on with this if this is the first time that you're looking at an IOTV. So you have the front of your plate carrier or IOTV, body armor, whatever terminology you want to use. It's body armor, it's a plate carrier, it carries plates. So it also carries soft body. I've seen some videos where guys make comments about, well, it's body armor, it's not a plate carrier. It's a plate carrier, it's not body armor. To me, it's kind of irrelevant, but hey, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, whatever terminology you want to use. So with that, when it comes to the front of this thing, you have your cutaway system up top. And some of the systems are going to be a little bit different from the Gen 1 all the way to the Gen 4, but most of these IOTVs have that cutaway system or do have the cutaway system. And then you have your front flap, which is going to cover up your buckles and or Velcro flaps that are going to be attached to your cummerbund. It doesn't really matter what system you have. I prefer the Velcro because I think it's a more streamlined fit. You don't have these buckles pushing your kit out. I don't know who designed it, but hey, okay. That's a method to the madness. And then when it comes to your cummerbunds, you have MOLLE throughout the entire cummerbund. You have MOLLE on the front, like you can see, not to insult anybody's intelligence. You have soft body on the front panel, and then you also have soft body on the back panel, and then your plates also go inside of this. For this front one, you actually have to open up this pocket right here. You slide your plate in, and it will sit on the exterior of the soft body. Soft body is on the interior or closest to your body. You have side plate pockets on this as well, so you can throw those side plates on there. Those are just off to the side. And then on the back side of this, you have all of your MOLLE for whatever you want to throw on your back. If you want to throw anything on your back, you have your drag handle, and then you have your plate pocket for your hard body armor. And I've also seen guys throw a camel back in here as well. So you have some options as far as how you want to set up and configure all of that. So moving on, I want to talk about how you can mod this system. So when you get this, you're going to have these clips. Right? It depends on the system that you have. I don't remember how the Gen 1s and Gen 2s are set up if you're getting issued that. But when it comes to the Gen 3, I do know that they have these clips. I believe the Gen 4s have it as well, but they may not. Don't quote me on it. I've only looked at the Gen 4 once. So you have these plastic clips that are going to weave through both your cummerbund and the MOLLE that's on the plate carrier. So when you look at that, you can see all that adjustment space that you have to adjust your cummerbund to your body and set this up so that it fits properly, and then go from there. So when it comes to how you can configure this to be set up like I'm not going to say like a JPC, but to give it that cummerbund kind of elastic feel, you can take 3/8 inch shot cord or bungee cord and you can weave it through this entire system so that way it will act similar to that elastic cummerbund. Now, one recommendation that I would have, at least go through one of these MOLLE sections so that way your cummerbund doesn't want to slide and shift to the left or the right, because if you don't do that, it can happen. And it's an irritating thing when your cummerbund wants to shift over that much. So I would go through at least one so that way it keeps things in place. If you want to go through two, by all means go through two. It really doesn't matter when it comes down to it. You might feel a little bit of restriction, but it's going to be a little bit more reactive and it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. So you're just weaving and Xing all of that down all the way through, and then you just tie it off on the bottom. Pull all the slack out so that way you can get a good knot, and then you're just going to pull everything back through so that way it is evenly distributed throughout the entire cummerbund. So And like you can see, now you have a cummerbund that's going to stretch with you when you put this on. So, and then I would just take these, throw these in your duffel bag, or if you want to keep them on your kit, you can just run them through the molly that's just covered up and out of the way. So that way you don't lose them. And then that way, in the event that this breaks, you still have those components to be able to set your kit up, put this all back together, and you're good to hook. So that's my recommendation when it comes to setting and configuring this up to keep this system as streamlined as possible. I do know that the system was initially designed to be able to address multiple different environments when it comes to threats. So they wanted something that you could be able to add armor to and take away armor from, and be able to configure this in a way based off of the environments that you're working in. So in my opinion, when it comes to how much body armor is already on this thing, between the soft body and the plates that you have quite a bit of space that is or you have quite a bit of body armor that is covering up all of you, and there's a lot of weight when it comes down to it. When you have all of the components and everything on this entire system, you're talking about like 31 something pounds just for this IOTV and the body armor portion. So that is something to think about. But one last thing that was articulated to me today, or told to me today, and I completely forgot about this, so I'm glad he brought it up, but an old infantry guy from the 173rd always did this with his plate carrier or body armor or IOTV. If you take bungee cord, you can pull this, tie a loop in it. Granted, you have your hard plate in there, so it isn't going to bend as much as it is right now. But there are some guys that back when he was in the infantry would set up his plate carrier or IOTV, IBA, similar to this, and he would take that bungee cord and would pull that soft body in, so that way it would open up that kind of shoulder pocket area, so that way you could get a better seat on that, from that stock to his shoulder, and give him the feel to be able to more accurately send rounds downrange, because his body armor wasn't pushing his butt stock out from his shoulder. So this is an option and something you can do if you want to do it. I would put the knot on the front here behind the molly, because then you can cover it up with an admin pouch or some small general purpose pouch. So that's my recommendation when it comes to that. And it was something that he wanted me to articulate as well, because he thought it was a super helpful thing back in the day when he was in the infantry. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. We'll help you out in any way possible when it comes to the setup of this thing. And like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.